The Genesis GV60 is one of the most unique vehicles on sale here in 2022-23. But what sort of realistic highway range can you expect from this performance model in the real world? Today we're going to find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the real-world highway range test of the 2023 Genesis GV60 Performance. In this test, we're going to head out and do about 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour, to get you a realistic real-world highway range number for this car. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. A nice, bright, white color. A lot of fun aspects on the GV60. A lot of cool technology, including the biometric authentication. Check out the link in the description for our review if you want to see a little more on that. But it also is just another entry into the EV small crossover game. It's a very efficient body style, and we're seeing a lot of manufacturers go with this sort of deal for their electric offerings. So if you do want to see more on the GV60, check the links in the description. We're going to do a sound test on the Bowers & Wilkins audio system, and of course our DM review. Look at this cool little accent. That's fun right there. We're charged up here to 100% using our Grizzly home charger. Shout out Grizzly. Unplug that. No sort of cabin preconditioning for this test. This is very real world in that if you just needed to hop in your car and hit the highway, what sort of range can you expect? You're not planning out your trip, anything like that. You're just getting in and going. So we're gonna hop in here, fire up the car. Our GPS is reset. Got our drive info reset. We're ready to roll. A few things to note for today. Outside temperature is 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Our tire pressures have been set to their door placard, 36 psi front, 39 psi rear, cold. And we're going to run the climate control at 70, no, not 70, that's for our gas cars. In these colder weather EV tests, we run 67 degrees auto. And I'm actually not even going to use the driver only function. I'm going to heat the whole cabin. I think that's a little bit more realistic for if someone were really driving this car, the passenger or something. And let's be honest, I mean, if you're setting 64 for just the driver, or 67 rather, it's not going to feel like 67 in here. It's still going to be cold. And we're also going to run one level of seat heat. I think that's more realistic for how an EV driver would run in weather like this. Pulling out of the neighborhood, the car says we've got 219 estimated miles of range with the climate control on. It'd be 229 if we turned it off, so it looks like we're taking up about 10 miles of estimated total range using our climate. This car is estimated from the EPA to get 235 miles in mixed driving, but only about 216 or so miles at highway speeds. But the EPA's highway test only averages 48 miles per hour. We're going to average 70 miles per hour, so I expect to get a lower number than that. But a lot of the new EVs, especially outside of Teslas, have still been getting their EPA estimates, even at highway speeds. So I've been pretty impressed by a lot of them recently. Let's see if running this GV60 in a little bit colder weather and some higher speeds is going to see the same result. I should shift over here into Eco mode. There's 3 drive modes: Eco, Comfort, and Sport. And I'm also driving with iPedal on, so that means maximum regeneration, and it will bring it to a stop. It's one pedal driving essentially. Now, technically speaking, that's not the most efficient way to drive. Most efficient would be to turn regen off while I'm coasting and then turn it on when I'm coming to a stop. But I think more people are just going to realistically drive this car with the iPedal on, one pedal driving, set up like that. And that's the thing, we're not trying to hypermile this car. We're not trying to get the most range out of it per se. We're trying to drive it normally and sort of see what numbers just naturally come cruising on the highway. One thing I like about the Hyundai and Genesis electric vehicles is you can bring up this energy information screen, go down to electricity use, and see what all is using your power both live and throughout that charge. So right now it says drivetrain has used up 82% of our electricity, climate 8, and electronics 10, and that includes my heated seat here for the driver. I don't understand why more electric vehicle manufacturers don't offer this. It's something I've been disappointed with many of the Toyota vehicles recently, is the Prius was class leading back when it came out with all its tech that it would give you and read out. But you get in a new Toyota Hybrid, it still tells you the same information you got on a Toyota Hybrid 20 years ago. So I like seeing all that breakdown here. And I like this screen, which will actually tell you how long it will take to charge your vehicle back up. So right now, if I were to turn around and go back home, plug it back into my level 2 charger, it's still going to take about 10 minutes to charge up to full. Getting on the highway here, getting up to speed at a reasonable pace. We're going to set our cruise control at a GPS indicated 72 miles per hour. That should allow us to average just about 70 over the whole test. It takes about 2 miles to get to the highway from my house. So we're going to have to count for that as well. A pretty good semi-autonomous driving functionality in the GV60. I can turn this button on, it's going to lane keep for me. Looks like 73 on the car's speedometer is 72 on the GPS, so that's what we're going to settle in for now. Initial highway impressions. This car is pretty quiet. It's about what you'd expect for a luxury vehicle. Maybe not the quietest for a $70,000 electric vehicle, but considering this is the performance model, got to give it a bit of a pass for that. Alright, we're going to continue on with the rest of the test and catch up with you at the end. In the meantime, enjoy this time-lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway range test here in the GV60. Pretty spot on with the estimates so far. 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour, which I expect to tick down to 2.7 when we coast off of the highway here. 97 miles essentially done at this point, 54%. This is a nice highway cruiser, it really is. The adaptive cruise control and the active lane keeping both work very well. It's comfortable, it's pretty darn quiet. Again, like I said, not the quietest car at this price point, but still pretty good. Very happy with the Bang & Olufsen audio system. If you want to see that review, check the link in the description. 111, now just 110 miles left. So again, that's putting us right around that 210 total mileage there at the end. But we're going to take this off the highway, get it back to the house, charge it all the way up, do some math, and see what we get here for a final result. All charged up the next morning here in the GV60. 100% charge and looking at 210 miles of estimated range, and that's after running the climate a little bit here as I've got prepared. And I think we're going to see a pretty remarkably accurate figure right there for our highway driving. The car says we only did 100.2 miles, but we know from our GPS that's not true. We actually traveled 101.3, so fairly inaccurate trip computer, unfortunately. All charged up, we ended up putting in 39.3 kilowatt hours from the charger, but we estimate a 90% efficiency rate for level 2 charging. So that's the amount of juice that's actually going into the battery that we're assuming there. So we're going to run on, 39.3 times 0.9. We're assuming 35.37 kilowatt hours actually went into the battery for this car. 101.3 miles traveled divided by the 35.37 kilowatt hours is giving us 2.86 miles per kilowatt hour according to the charge that we put into the car. That's a little bit higher than the 2.7 that the car is giving us. So I'm actually going to round down and give us a 2.8 mile per kilowatt hour average for the GV60 here at highway speeds and a little bit colder weather performance trim. 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour times the 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack is giving you what we're going to round down to an effective highway cruising range of 210 miles here in the GV60 Performance. So I think a pretty decent number, all things considered, for cruising at 70. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on this very nice Genesis GV60, check the links in the description. Hopefully we get a chance to run this against its non-performance counterpart here at some point, but we're going to be driving it more throughout this week, going on a few highway road trips, and we'll kind of report back in the full test on how it was having it on the highway for multiple trips and with Alyssa in the car and everything. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.